Next is the gold for oil. And what's been the outcome? I have a statement that I'm going to read to you if it can be projected, or let me even play a bite for you from the National Petroleum Authority. We've had the first business transacted, and we heard Honorable Ejapa Mesa speak, and some people have come up to say that it is cash that we used. But if you look at the structure of it well, if we have time, I would project how the formula is, how Bank of Ghana is mobilizing the gold and paying to brokers or either to the suppliers directly, and then when it is from the brokers, how the brokers pay cash to the suppliers, and if it is from the government of Ghana or the central bank, how we pay to the suppliers gold, physical gold, and how the supply bust with the oil and how it gets to the bulk oil distributors, and of course, to the OMCs, and how they also pay back to the Bank of Ghana. But let's have the bite, I'll come back.
An allocation for oil. If this gold for oil is going to force Bank of Ghana now to allocate foreign currency flows to the oil sector, then it is a good thing. And that's all that we've been asking for. Bank of Ghana should make sure that it provides the foreign currency for the BDCs. Now, there are two reasons for that. If the BDC goes to the commercial bank will sell it at the commercial rate. Whereas, if it goes to Bank of Ghana will sell it at the Bank of Ghana rate. Now, the pricing of our petroleum products at the pump is based on $13 plus at this moment. Bank of Ghana will be showing on its portal that the exchange rate for today may be 10.2 cedis, 10 cedis and 20 pesos for $1. But in reality, it is $13 that is used for the pricing. If Bank of Ghana can make available to the BDCs at 10.2, we will see a drop in the oil price, in the price that we pay per petrol.
If your boss cannot maintain, as head of the economic management team, the stability of our currency for a 90-day window, then why are we calling him the head of the economic management team? Is that what he promised us in his Central University lectures? Is it not your boss who said he had arrested the dollar and handed the keys over to the IGP? Thankfully, you are not as bald as your boss. The dollar is dancing skeleton on your boss's bald head. And that is why today he cannot determine the stability of our currency for even a 30-day window.
If you want to solve.
It is simple. This is simple arithmetic. There's nothing out of the textbook here. As a scientist and an engineer, I don't understand why we're trying to confuse people in this country that the gold for oil will reduce the price of petroleum products. We already agreed that the price of petrol imported into this country is not going to change much. What is going to change is the availability of foreign exchange and at what price foreign exchange.
The first.
Right, so forgive me, I thought I was going to play a video for you from the NPA. If I find that video, a statement from the NPA, I'll put it out to you. But currently I have Adams Yakubu, who is a policy analyst from IES, on the line. But I still have a statement also from the NPA. I don't know if we can project it. If we are not able, well, that's what the NPA says about it, the full implementation of the Gold for Oil program. We have explained this already, but let me read the points 1 and 2 to you. It says, the implementation of the government's Gold for Oil program commenced with an arrival of the first consignment of about 40,000 metric tons of diesel on January 15, 2023, valued at about $40 million. Now, the prime objective of the program is to use additional foreign exchange resources from the Bank of Ghana's Domestic Gold Purchase DGP program to provide foreign currency for the importation of petroleum products for the current country, which currently stands at about 350 million. Well, these are things we have explained already. Because of time, I'll jump to my guest tonight. He will further explain all of these things to us and what it means, why we haven't had a reduction in the price of petroleum from the time we expected the program to have begun. But if need be, I'm sure we'll put it on side for you to still be able to read while you listen to our guests. So Adams Yakubu is a policy analyst from IES, and he's live on Zoom joining us tonight. Good evening, and thank you for joining us, Adams. Adams, if you can hear me, kindly unmute your mic on Zoom for me. I can see you live and colored, but I'm not able to hear you. So if you can hear me, let me greet you again. Right, thank you very much. I can hear you now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having me.
Right, so let me go straight to the point. We're expecting the prices of petroleum products to have gone down by now. Why is it still up?
Yes. So what happens is that when we looked at the last window, we realized that on the international market, some prices were still going up with regards to petroleum products, and even refineries giving indication that they are going to have long maintenance time compared to what we were expecting. All these fused into the pricing on the international market, which would then relate onto the domestic market. On the domestic front, the cedi had lost considerable some value against the major trading currency, which is the dollar. And so putting these two factors together, you would see that there was no sight of any reduction we're expecting going forward.
But that is what we're expecting the gold for oil program to have solved. When there is, because of the instability of our local currency against the major trading currency, which is the dollar, we're expecting the gold for oil, and that's what had been put out to the public, that we're going to purchase the oil with gold.
Yes, so when this was announced, we sounded caution that it is not as if there's some cheap oil somewhere that you could just carry gold and go and buy. But what the government insisted was that this was the approach it would have used. So what came in the first consignment as announced was some 40,000 metric tons. And that was for diesel. So you realize that the diesel of 40,000 metric tons was just for a week's cover. We do about 160,000 metric tons for diesel and 140,000 metric tons for petrol. So putting that together is about 300,000 metric tons. So you realize that the 40,000 metric tons that we received was not enough to displace price. And mind you, prices on the international market were increasing, as well as the local currency losing value against the dollar, which is the major thing that was used to pay. So definitely you didn't expect to see much from the program. But as government says, as the program goes forward, definitely we should expect. But that's, we still think that some level of cautions, because the prices on the international market are known. It's not hidden. People know it, and we know how the market behaves. So I would find it very difficult for you to convince someone that prices would be increasing and government will sell it cheaper. What government can do, or government will seek to do, is to what? Influence the price by setting the prices, which would undermine the deregulation
policy. That's a policy which has been introduced, and it will be difficult to forgo that.
Yes, because that is the relatively competitive method that has worked over the years. And you realize that for some years now, we've not had issues of fuel shortages because government is not the sole importer of these products. Private people are able to bring in the product as well. So we are returning to a situation where government is going to be the sole importer of products and would determine the price, which would, in the long run, could create debts in the sector, and we could return to those issues of petroleum shortages at the pumps, which we fear should not happen.
I'm going to ask you a question, but let me ask. I understand also that the pricing of gold on the world market, apart from the pricing of the petroleum products itself, on the world market varies, and when they are going up, the gold may not be able to affect it that much. The pricing of gold itself also has an effect on the net price of the fuel that we bring in, or the oil that we bring in. Is that the case?
Yes, obviously, because they are indexed, they are pegged on to the dollar. So definitely, when you say you are exchanging gold for oil, what it happens is that the one receiving the gold would think in dollars, and the one receiving the oil would think in dollars. That is where you can match. even in cases where government per the framework is going to swap, they still have to get the gold to dollar equivalence, the oil to dollar equivalence before you can swap it. Because remember, they are not like terms. And so those are some of the challenges of such regimes, the barter regime, that you don't have, they are not like for like, where you can just easily swap them, because at the end of the day, what government seeks to do is to eliminate the direct computation of the forex in the pricing. But indirectly, the dollar would still influence pricing, because the dollar still has a way, it will find its way into what? The equation. Even if it is not directly, but indirectly, it could happen. And when you look at the framework as well, they say gold doors, not gold bars. Other researchers have indicated that these gold doors are what the small scale miners produce. And that could also bring another conversation on its own, that are we going to be encouraging galamsey if you can raise such fears? So the policy needs to really be thought through carefully, so that we don't end up going back to things we have worked so hard to stop in the past.
Let me ask you this. Is it the case of, and I'm asking you this because I followed you, Nana Mwesi, and the IES for quite a while now. I mean, all the predictions that you've put across, the bi-monthly predictions for fuel pricing and so on and so forth have been so accurate. And based on that, I'm going to ask you this, that is it the position of the IES that the program wasn't well thought through and that it is not going to have any significant effect on oil pricing in the country?
Exactly. From the outset, we maintain the position that the program needs to be carefully thought through. We are not against a program that tries to bring relief or respite to the Ghanaian people, but we are just careful that bringing two critical sectors, which is the mineral sector and the energy sector together, spillovers from the mineral sector could affect the energy sector, and the spillovers from the energy sector could also have a replica effect on the extractive sector. So for this reason, we're just sounding caution. We are not the prophets of doom, but we want that government carefully watches its steps. And if that is the case, then we are in for it. But for now, as we sit, not just IES as an institution, but the Association of Civil Society Organizations, Alliance for Civil Society Organizations, have also raised some calls. For example, the gold broker that is found in the framework, how is the broker going to be selected? The suppliers of the products, who are they?
It brings me, sorry to cut you, but the gold broker issue brings me back to the statement people are attributing to the Deputy Minister of Energy, Honorable Ejapa Mensah, on the fact that we used cash to pay for the ones we have in now, and people were expecting that we will use gold. Can you clarify that as you round up your statement for us? Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, so I cannot speak for the
no, not for the minister, but how does it happen? How does it happen that we are going to use gold and we end up using cash?
So that is it. So when the issue first came up, we wanted to see the contract document, because this contract document would have informed everyone what was used. Instead of minister telling us, we would have been glad that the contract document published for the 40,000 metric tons. Definitely the seller received something, either gold or money. He received something, so we need to know. But the minister made the comment, and after backlash, we've seen attempts to withdraw the comments by the deputy minister, and I think that is most unfortunate. And so, like we have maintained, government needs to be a bit more transparent, communicate its position well. Nobody's against a policy that brings respite, and at the end of the day, we are all in for fair pricing, transparency, and equitability in the energy sector.
Adams, thank you very much. Unfortunately, because of time, we may have to come back to you in the course of the week or next week. But we are grateful to have had you. Adams Yakubu is a policy analyst at the Institute of Energy Security, IES, and he's done us the honors of speaking to us on the Gold for Oil program. Early on, we had Professor John Gache, Dean of Business School at the University of Cape Coast, speaking to us about the domestic debt exchange program and the finance minister's statement that was released this evening. My name is Kwesi Afui. Thank you very much for doing the watching. Good evening.